So here's something that should make every physician a little uncomfortable. For years now, we've been told a very clean story about artificial intelligence in medicine. The story goes like this. The machine catches what you miss. It acts as an assistant. It's a second set of eyes. It only makes you better. And honestly, a lot of the data backed it up. For instance, in dozens of randomized trials in gastroenterology, AI-assisted colonoscopy found more polyps. Full stop. Nobody's really arguing with those studies. But then, a study landed in Lancet Gastroenterology and Hepatology, and it asked the one question nobody wanted to say out loud. What happens if after a doctor has been using artificial intelligence as an assistant for a prolonged period of time, what then happens if you take the AI away? Because the answer they found is one a lot of us have been quietly afraid of. The doctors in this study got worse. Not a little worse, measurably worse, at the exact thing they trained their whole careers to do. So today we're sitting with the most uncomfortable question in medical tech right now. Is AI going to make you a worse doctor? So let's get into it. Hey everyone, welcome back to SpeakMD. I'm Dr. AJ Balaram, a practicing physician and surgeon, and on this channel we review the technology that's reshaping how physicians actually practice medicine. Now, I want to be crystal clear about something up front. This is not an anti-AI video. We've used these tools. I reviewed a dozen of them on this channel already. But this is something different. This is the first time we've got real-world evidence, not a lab experiment, not a survey, not just a vibe, that the tools we're leaning on might be quietly changing us, the people that are actually using them. And the field is genuinely split on what it means. So we're going to walk through exactly what the study found, why it happened, and what do you actually do about it. So whether you're a physician or honestly anyone who's started letting an algorithm do a little too much of your thinking, I think you're going to find this really interesting. So let's start with the facts, because the headlines on this one got a little bit loose really fast. The study came out of something called the ACCEPT trial. That stands for Artificial Intelligence in Colonoscopy for Cancer Prevention. It's a little stretch on the acronym, but we're going to let them slide on this one. So this was 4 endoscopy centers in Poland. The team published in Lancet Gastro in August of 2025. So here's the setup, and it's actually pretty clever. These centers brought in AI polyp detection at the end of 2021. So essentially an artificial intelligence that reads the screen while you're performing a colonoscopy and assists you on potentially identifying some cancerous lesions. So the researchers went back and looked at colonoscopies these doctors did without the AI, 3 months before the AI showed up, and then 3 months after. Same doctors, same procedure, no AI in the room either time. The only thing that changed was that in between these doctors had spent a few months getting used to having the AI there. And these weren't rookies. 19 experienced endoscopists. Every single one of them had done over 2,000 colonoscopies. So they weren't trainees. The GI docs in the audience can let me know if this is a lot of procedures in the grand scheme of things. Now, here's the number that's been making the rounds. Their Adenoma detection rate, the ADR. So that's the percentage of procedures where they catch a precancerous growth. So before the AI, it sat at 28.4%. After they'd gotten comfortable with the AI in the room assisting them, when they were flying solo again, it dropped to 22.4%. So that's a 6-point absolute drop, roughly a 20% relative decline, and that's in the ability to catch things that prevent colon cancer. And I do want to underline why ADR matters so much here, because it's not some abstract leaderboard score. Now, of course, on this channel, as a non-endoscopist, I'm not going to try to expertly say what these numbers mean, but I do think it's important that we focus on this ADR number because it comes up over and over again in the gastroenterology literature. So we've known for years from long-term data that every 1% bump in your ADR links to a real measurable drop in a patient's risk of dying from colorectal cancer. So a 6-point swing, that's not academic. That's potentially someone's cancer caught a year too late. When you work in a surgical specialty, your quality metrics are kind of your pride. They represent the standard of care you deliver when nobody is looking over your shoulder. If my personal outcomes or complication rates swung by 6 points over a matter of months, it definitely would spark an immediate kind of deep dive internal review of what's going on. So seeing a foundational metric like ADR drop that significantly isn't just a statistical blurb. It's a gut punch to any clinician who prides themselves on their diagnostic skill. Now, here's where it gets genuinely fascinating and why this study lit the field up. Because for years, the evidence pointed to the complete opposite. There's a meta-analysis of 44 randomized trials, 44, shows that AI-assisted colonoscopy actually bumps your detection rate up by around 8%. So the AI works. When it's on, you catch more. That part's not really in dispute, but we have to sit with that contradiction for a second. The same technology that makes you better with it might be making you worse without it. And the reason this study matters so much is it's the first time anyone's documented de-skilling from a clinical AI in the real world. And this is on a metric that actually connects to patient outcomes. It's not just that doctors felt less confident on a survey. These are actual procedures, actual missed adenomas. So why? Why would a few months of help with artificial intelligence erode a skill that you've been practicing for years? It comes down to a few things, and I promise you'll recognize every single one of them from your own life. So first, cognitive offloading. So when you know the machine is watching, some part of your brain just stops watching as hard. And it's not laziness, it's efficiency. Your brain is wired to conserve effort. If something else is doing the looking for you, you look a little less. So second is automation bias. We start to trust that little green blocks on the screen more than our own eyes. The AI becomes the authority, and slowly, quietly, we become the assistant. And third, the feedback loop just goes quiet. When the AI flags everything for you, you stop getting the reps of finding it yourself. And of course, a skill without reps fades. You can ask any surgeon who just came back from a long vacation. So this isn't just a medicine problem, it's a human psychology problem. We see it everywhere. So think about how GPS has completely flattened our innate sense of direction. The second we rely on the blue dot to turn left, we stop building a mental map of the city. We saw it in the recent MIT studies tracking students using generative models for writing and coding. When the algorithm handles the initial layout, the human brain stops processing the underlying syntax. It's the classic use it or lose it principle, but accelerated by very slick software. Okay, so that's some concerning data, but let's take a deep breath, because this is the part where the internet got it wrong, and this is why on this channel we try to earn our keep. We always critically evaluate the study on this channel, and this one has some real limitations you need to know about before you go ripping the AI out of your endoscopy suite. Number one, it's observational. It's not a randomized clinical controlled trial. It's a look back at data that was collected for a different purpose. And observational studies are vulnerable to, of course, confounding, meaning something other than the AI could be explaining that drop in their ADR. It could be the seasonal patient mix, changes in who's walking through the door, the simple fact that you're comparing one 3-month window to another 3-month window, which is a pretty thin slice of time. Number two, it's a relatively small group of doctors at a handful of centers in one country. We cannot take 19 endoscopists in Poland and declare a universal law of medicine. That's just not how good evidence works. And of course, after the research is published, it got some significant pushback. Other GI doctors wrote into Lancet to dispute the findings, pushing back. They offered alternative explanations as to why the ADR dropped. And that's good. That's science working exactly the way it's supposed to. So one provocative study is a signal. It's not a verdict. But here's why I still think you need to pay attention. Even if that exact 6-point number drop doesn't hold up, the mechanism is real. Cognitive offloading is one of the most well-documented things in all of cognitive psychology. We've watched automation dependence creep into airline pilots. We've watched GPS quietly demolish people's sense of direction. There's even that MIT study we were just talking about with work on what happens to your brain when you let ChatGPT write your essays for you. The principle itself isn't controversial. The only real question is the size of the effect in medicine. In this study, it's the first crack of light on that question. If I'm being completely transparent, I've caught myself doing this with digital workflows. When you're transitioned to smart templates or automated clinical documentation tools, there's a subtle temptation to let your eyes glaze over the standard paragraphs because the system generated them perfectly the last 50 times. It takes a conscious, deliberate effort to force your brain to engage with every single line when a software package is telling you, don't worry, I've got this covered. So the pull towards convenience is incredibly strong, even when the stakes are really high. So what do we actually do with this? Because AI bad, throw it in the trash is not the right take. The AI catches more cancer when it's on. That's a fact. We should not be giving that up. The goal isn't to reject the tool, it's to use the tool without letting the tool use you. Here's how I think about it. 4 things. Number 1, stay in the driver's seat. Make your own read first. Look at the field, form your own impression, and then let the machine confirm you or challenge you. The second you flip that order, the second you sit back and wait for the green box to think for you, that's the moment your skill starts draining out. Number 2, protect your reps. Whatever your field is, keep doing some of the work cold. No assist, surgeons keep operating, radiologists read the film before you pull up the AI overlay. You've got to keep loading that muscle or it atrophies. The skill is a muscle. Treat it like one. Number 3, and this is the one that honestly keeps me up at night, watch the trainees. If a seasoned endoscopist with 2,000 procedures can de-skill in 3 months, what happens to a resident who learns with the AI from day one? They might never build that unassisted skill in the first place, and you can't lose something you've never had. So how we train the next generation around these tools, that's the real conversation. And number 4, build an off switch on purpose. Some of the smartest groups I've talked to are starting to treat AI like a co-pilot you periodically take the controls back from. It's a deliberate practice without the assist, and it's built right into the workflow, and it's on purpose, and it's on a schedule. The best clinicians out there don't stay sharp by accident. They do it on purpose through structured habit. Think about it like tactile feedback or spatial awareness in complex procedures. You only maintain that fine touch by constantly testing your limits without a safety net. If we want to stay at the top of our game while leveraging cutting-edge technologies, we have to treat cognitive training exactly like surgical technique. Managed, measured, and rigorously maintained. So let's bring it home. That headline, is AI making you a worse doctor? It's a great question, and it's the right question to be asking. But the honest answer is way more interesting than a yes or no. Of course, on this channel, we like diving into the messy gray areas with nuance on both sides. It's the reason we do these long-form videos instead of TikTok videos. We can explore both sides, not take a side, and give the information to the audience to make sure that they can make their own decisions. So AI isn't making you worse. Over-relying on it might be. And those are 2 completely different things. So this is one study. It's not gospel, it's observational, it's small, and smart people are still arguing about it as we speak. But it's the first real-world signal that the tools built to sharpen us could also dull us if we're not paying attention. The technology is going to keep getting better. That part's not really in question. The real question is whether we stay sharp right alongside with it, or whether we quietly hand over the one thing that actually makes us doctors, which is our judgment. The tool should make you a better thinker, not a lazier one. That's the whole game. So if this made you think a little differently about using AI while you're sitting down in your own workflow, do me a favor and hit that like button. It genuinely helps this stuff reach other physicians who need to see it. And subscribe if you haven't yet. We're building the biggest physician-focused tech community on YouTube. And you being here is exactly how that happened. And drop me a comment because I really want to know on this one, how have you felt it? The moment where you realized you were leaning on the tool a little too hard. Or do you think this whole de-skilling thing is totally overblown? The best conversations on this channel happen right down there in the comments, and I read them. So if you found this interesting, you may want to take a look into our next deep dive where we're shifting gears and looking at documentation efficiency by using AI scribes. I give you 15 tips after I've seen about 3,000 patients on how to best use the AI scribes, and you can see that video here. In addition, we're also talking about how Doximity is using peer review to help artificial intelligence give better answers to doctors. You can check out that video here. Thank you so much for watching. I know your time is valuable. Have a great day.